Okay, let's get started. We're going to click in cell E2 and we are going to compute the part-time to full-time ratio. We're going to go equals, always to start a formula. Then we can just click here in C2 and it puts the C2 right into E2. Click over here in B2 and that is the ratio of part-time faculty to full-time faculty at this particular institution. Now let's go back up here. See the way the cursor becomes that cross? I'm going to double click and we have automatically filled all the way down to this very last value here at row number 139. You'll notice here that we have in E2, cell E2, C2 and B2. Excel automatically changed that in E3 to cell C3 and B3 for our division. In E4, we have C4 and B4, and so on. This is called a relative reference, and we'll learn about absolute references in another lab. Okay, let's try calculating an average for these values. First thing I'm going to do is just get this out of the way. Calculate an average or a mean. We'll type an equal sign in G2. We can select any cell really, but this one is convenient. We're going to type the word average, and as you can see over here, Excel is now waiting for what are called the arguments of this average function. Every function takes one or more arguments in Excel. So we want the average of E2 all the way down to E139. That was the last row in our data set. So we could type in E2, E3, E4, all the way down to E139, but there's an easier way. We're going to type E2, then a colon, and then E139, close the parentheses, and uh-oh, there's a problem. Why do you think we're having that problem? Why don't you pause and think about that? And the thing to do really is to inspect all of this data in column E to see if anything in there is anomalous or a little bit strange. Okay, so you've had a couple of minutes to contemplate why we're getting this error here. Hopefully you've got some good answers. Let's get rid of that value and let's move on to creating our box plots. So we want to create two box plots here. One that shows the part-time full-time ratio for public universities and the other that shows the part-time full-time ratio for private universities. Excel understands for some reason that oftentimes with box plots there is a grouping variable, that would be sector here, column D, and a variable that has the data that we're interested in creating the box plot about in another column, that would be column E. So we don't need to create two separate box plots. Excel is going to do that for us. To do that, we're going to select these two cells. We can just simply drag across like that. And then you want to hold down to your Control and your Shift key and press the down arrow key. That selects all of the data that Excel is going to need to produce our box plot. We're going to go over here to Insert, and you'll recall that we clicked over here when we wanted a histogram. Excel puts all these statistical charts in this little icon. We're going to click down, go down to box plots, and there's our box plot. You'll note we have one for public universities and another for private universities. Let's click anywhere in the chart here to bring up this Chart Elements dialog. Click Data Labels, and you'll see now we get a whole bunch of data labels here. This shows the median value, rather, 1.2 for the private. The median value of the public is somewhere lost in there, and let's try to clean that up. So to do that, I'm going to double click on any one of these values. and open up the, I don't need that anymore, and open up the Format Data Labels side pane. So the first thing we'll do is we'll try to clean these numbers up. Right now the numbers are coming in as general data type. I'm not sure what that is, but we can reduce our decimal places to whatever value we want. Let's stick with 1 right now so we can see what we've got going here. Click anywhere within the chart and we can begin to see what's going on. Now you'll notice here is a median of 1.2. The public has a median ratio of 0.9, and barely legible in there is the mean value for the distribution. In order to make that a little bit more visible, I'm just going to click anywhere in the box plot. Actually, I'm going to click anywhere within the box itself, this little paint can, and we're going to change the fill from automatic to solid fill. It's going to be blue. You can make it any color you want, but we're going to increase the transparency. And when we do that, we're able to see what those mean values are. I believe you have some questions to answer, so we'll leave it there. I'll just show you that you can increase the size of this if you want, make it a little bit more visible. Well, that's a little bit too big. And I will see you after you've answered those questions in the next video about calculating z-scores.